I am leaving the Sun and the other motor dealers and heading into Arnaud Avenue. In the distance is Malik in Barataria, I believe. We are on Arnaud Avenue and we will be turning left onto Lady Young Road. Welcome back to the driver's seat, my Triple E drivers. How are you doing? There we go. On the left leads to Caledonia Environs. On the right is Laventille and we are nearing Morvajon. I'm going to take the left lane and head to the Eastern Main Road. The Eastern Main Road starts at Port of Spain and goes east right up to the Manzanilla Beach facility. At present, we are on the Eastern Main Road, the EMR. This is the Barataria Environs. Now let's talk a bit about Seh War. Seh War is one of Trinidad's oldest settlements, with roots stretching back into the late 18th century. The area was originally known as Aricagua, named after a nearby river or stream. Before the town itself was established, Spanish Capuchin missionaries had built a mission in the area dedicated to St. John the Baptist, giving rise to the name San Juan de Aricagua. In 1784, Governor José María Chacón arrived in Trinidad. And recognized the need for a better communication between Puerto de España, that's Port of Spain, and San José de Oruña at St. Joseph, the island's former capital. To improve travel between the two centers, he constructed a roadway linking them and established a village roughly midway along the route. This new settlement became known simply as Seh War. The growth of Seh War was fueled by the influx of immigrants who arrived under the Spanish Cedula of Population. The Spanish Cedula of Population was a royal decree issued by the King of Spain in 1783 with a very specific goal: that is, to attract foreign settlers to Trinidad. Many of these settlers were French-speaking planters and workers who transformed the district into a productive agricultural region, particularly for cocoa cultivation. Their influence became so strong that the local pronunciation of San Juan evolved into the distinctive Seh War, a pronunciation that persisted for generations. From its earliest days, Seh War served as an important commercial center. Its location along the main route connecting eastern Trinidad to Port of Spain made it a busy marketplace and transportation hub. By the beginning of the 19th century, the village had become significant enough to have its own local administrators, reflecting its growing importance within the colony. The original village developed on elevated grounds overlooking the Aricagua River. The main road passing through it formed part of the historic Camino Real, sections of which survive today as Real Street, or the English pronunciation Real Street. The historic core of Seh War centered around the Roman Catholic Church and nearby public buildings. Following emancipation in 1834 and the full abolition of slavery in 1838, many formerly enslaved people settled in the area, contributing to the village's expansion. A police post was later established, further strengthening Seh War's role as a growing community. We are presently at the Croisée. A major turning point came in 1876 when the Trinidad Government Railway reached Seh War. The village became the first station east of Port of Spain on the line to Oruña. The arrival of the railway transformed Seh War into an even more vibrant center of trade and movement. Around the district known as the Croisée, where important roads intersected, commercial activity flourished, and the community continued to expand. Croisée is spelled T-R-O-I-S-E accent on it and finishing with another E. The red and white building on the right is the public transportation PTSC hub. What began as a small village of only a few hundred residents eventually grew to one of Trinidad's major urban communities. By the time railway services ended in 1968, Seh War's population had reached approximately 30,000 people, a testament to nearly 2 centuries of steady growth and development. Today, Seh War sits roughly 6.6 kilometers east of Port-of-Spain along the east-west corridor, serving as the first major stop for maxi taxis and buses heading in and out of the city. With suburbs stretching across El Socorro, Barataria, Aranjuez, Bourg-Multras, Febo Village, and Petit-Bourg. So, that was a short history of Seh War. Most of the info was from the National Library Nallis online webpage. Hope you found it useful. Now let's talk about St. Joseph, the area we will be entering soon. The former capital of Trinidad. The story of St. Joseph, originally christened San José de Oruña, is a sweeping saga of legendary gold hunts, pirate raids, colonial ships, and fiery rebellion. As the oldest European settlement and the original capital of Trinidad, this quiet hillside town, nestled at the foot of the northern range, holds the literal foundations of the country's modern history. Here is the narrative of how a strategic military outpost became the seat of Spanish power, faced ruin, and ultimately shaped the destiny of Trinidad. Firstly, the birth of San José de Oruña in 1592. The story begins with a desperate search for El Dorado, the mythical city of gold. Spanish explorer Don Antonio Don Antonio de Berrio was obsessed with finding it. Realizing he needed a secure base of operation close to the South American mainland, he turned his attention to Trinidad. We are in Fleurs now. In 1592, Berrio sent his trusted lieutenant, Domingo de Vera Ibargüen, to establish a town. They chose a strategic hill overlooking the Caroni Plains and the river that would come to bear the town's name. It was a perfect vantage point, high enough to spot incoming invaders from the Gulf of Paria, yet close enough to water transport. Named San Jose in honor of Saint Joseph and Oruña, after Berrio's ancestral home in Spain, it officially became the first capital of Trinidad. Here comes the wrath of Sir Walter Raleigh, 1595. San Jose's status as a capital didn't guarantee peace. Just 3 years after its founding, British explorer Sir Walter Raleigh sailed into the Gulf of Paria. He too was hunting for El Dorado and viewed Berrio as his direct rival. Raleigh executed a ruthless surprise night attack. His men marched inland, ambushed the Spanish guard at the Royal Road, and stormed up the hill into the capital. Raleigh's forces slaughtered the Spanish garrison, took a frail Berrio prisoner, and burned San Jose de Oruña to the ground. Raleigh famously justified the destruction by claiming it was a preemptive strike to prevent the Spanish from aligning with the local indigenous population against England. Now comes the centuries of hardship and poverty. The Spanish painfully rebuilt the town, but the 17th and 18th centuries were incredibly bleak. Spain largely neglected Trinidad, leaving San Jose isolated and impoverished. The dilapidated Cabildo. The Cabildo, the powerful town council, often had to meet in cramped, thatched roof mud huts because they lacked the funds to build a proper town hall. Economic ruin. For a brief period, cocoa plantations brought wealth to the valley. However, in 1727, a mysterious crop failure known as the Blast wiped out the cocoa estates, plunging the capital back into severe poverty. Constant threat. The town faced periodic raids from Dutch and English privateers, alongside friction with the native Amerindian population who resisted Spanish encampment. Then the capital shifts to Port of Spain, 1757 to 1784. By the mid-1700s, San Jose was in a state of absolute ruin. It was so dilapidated, muddy, and plagued by disease that when Governor Don Pedro de la Moneda arrived in 1757, he flatly refused to live there. Moneda packed up his administration and moved down to the coastal commercial settlement of Puerto España, Port of Spain. While San Jose remained the official capital on paper for a few more decades, the structural power had permanently left the hills. In 1784, Trinidad's last Spanish governor, Don José María Chacón, made the move official. He formalized Port of Spain as the capital, leaving St. Joseph as a sleepy historical relic of the old regime. The fall of Spanish rule. We are in the Curepe environs now. The 1797 capitulation. St. Joseph would play one final massive role in the Spanish history of the island. In 1797, a massive British naval fleet commanded by Sir Ralph Abercrombie arrived to seize Trinidad. Recognizing that he was hopelessly outnumbered and outgunned, Governor Chacón retreated inland towards St. Joseph to avoid a bloody, futile massacre in the streets of Port of Spain. The final act of Spanish defiance ended just on the outskirts of St. Joseph at the Valsine estate. It was here, in a grand estate house, that Chacón met with Abercrombie and signed the Articles of Capitulation, officially handing Trinidad over to the British Empire without a single shot fired in the town. Now comes the Dargam Mutiny of 1837. Under British rule, St. Joseph became an important military barracks town. This setting paved the way for one of the most dramatic, unsung rebellions in Caribbean history, the Dargam Mutiny. Darga, or Donald Stewart as he was renamed, was an African prince of the Paw nation who was captured by slave traders. Instead of being sent to a plantation, he was forcefully recruited into the British West India Regiment and stationed at the St. Joseph Barracks. Darga refused to accept his captivity. On the night of June 18, 1837, he led a fierce armed mutiny alongside fellow African soldiers. We are in St. Augustine area now. Setting fire to the barracks and attempting to fight their way back eastward. That should be westward. To fight their way eastward, they said here. Fight their way back eastward towards the coast in a desperate bid to return to Africa. The rebellion was swiftly and brutally crushed by the superior British military forces. Following a short court-martial, Darga and his co-conspirators were marched out into the military courtyard in St. Joseph and executed by a firing squad against the chapel walls. Today, Darga is remembered as one of Trinidad's earliest freedom fighters against colonial oppression. According to Nallis, Darga was an inspiration for the leaders of the Black Power Revolution in the 1960s and 70s. One of those leaders was Makandal Darga, who went on to become a part of government. Okay, so that was a brief history of St. Joseph. I hope you found it useful. We will end the narration for today's video. We will do the other towns' histories on another drive-through. Now we are in the Tunapuna area. Okay, we will end the video here. Hope you learned a few things about Trinidad, as I did. Until the next vlog, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Bye for now, Triple E drivers.